How did you lose your best friend? I got tired of it being all about her all of the time. I couldn't tell her anything in my life good or bad because she would make it about herself. Best friend since we were 12. Best man at my wedding when we were 28. Day after the wedding he never spoke to me again. No explanation. Calls and texts went unanswered. He would avoid being at any social event I would be at, which was a few, because we had the same circle of friends. Tried for 2 years to keep that friendship alive. For another opinion on what may have happened besides the comments below, sad as it may be, it could be you grew apart and he didn't want to remain your friend, but he felt bad about ruining your wedding, so he made it seem like everything was fine. Did his duties as your best man, and only then felt like it was acceptable to ghost. Not saying it's right, but I know some people that changed for the worse during wedding prep once they got engaged. I also know some people who got jealous that their friends were in relationships or married while they were single. I felt that to a lesser degree. I agree with this possibility. A friend of mine turned into an absolute monster during her wedding planning process, and by the end of it, I did not want to be her friend anymore. I stayed in the wedding because I didn't want to cause a scene, but mentally I had checked out of the friendship by the time the wedding came around. I'd say I've had 3 best friends I've lost over my lifetime. First one I was the asshole. Second one he was the asshole. Third one just drifted apart as our lives went our separate ways. Same here. 3 besties. Point first one she was the asshole after I was the asshole. Second one drifted apart. Third one she married a super religious guy who didn't approve of me. Car accident in 1988. Still call her mum on birthdays, Mother's Day, etc. She was 5 days younger than me. We always said we'd do a double 21st. She only made it to 19. Miss you, Tracy. He kept cheating on his wife and went to jail twice for beating her up. I told him I didn't think that was good behavior, and he told me to duck off and that I didn't understand marriage since I was unmarried. My best friend and best man in my wedding was married before me. I was still in college when he got married. He always talked about how him and his wife were going to have a threesome. I thought, good for you, man. Shortly after I got married, that changed to him saying he was going to hook up with this chick by himself as his wife kept chickening out. Dude, that's now cheating on your wife. He had a kid shortly after that, and he was born right around my birthday. My wife was taking me out of town for my birthday and he invited me to his kid's birthday party. I declined, saying I would be out of town, and he stopped talking to me. No idea. He slowly stopped answering calls, texts, emails. His wife, even more so. I'd occasionally stop by to see them and everything appeared to be okay. They never stopped to see us. Even though his mother lived just a few miles away. I just quit trying. Same thing. After months of me always making the plans, I left it up to him to call me. It's been 24 years now. I'm starting to think he might not call. Maybe it's just a phase. Slowly everybody just grew apart. Basically, some got jobs after college. Some of us joined the Marines. Some started their own companies. Some got married and had kids. Here we are in our late 30s, and we'd be lucky to hear from any one of us via text. Man, I don't even have a single way of contacting them. But I do have new friends and we get together every week for D&D. His wife tried to sleep with me. I didn't let it happen, and I told him about it. They reconciled and had more kids. Then it got weird whenever I was around, so we drifted apart. They reconciled and had more kids. Then it got weird whenever I was around, so we drifted apart. Very similar thing happened to me. I caught his fiancée flirting with some guys in a bar on a night out. She told him she was on a girl's night out. From what I could see, it was her and one other girl flirting with guys all night to get free drinks. Maybe nothing wrong with that, but in another bar. Later on, I came out of the gents, and she was in the corridor with her hand up some guy's shirt, his hand on her ass, and it looked like they were in the middle of making out. She saw me and snapped out of it and went into the loo. I sent him a text saying what I saw. No reply until the next morning. He phones to say she's accused me of trying to kiss her and grabbing her ass. Long story short, she convinced him that I had come on to her and my story was to deflect blame. He believed her because she was ducking him. We made up enough that I was best man at his wedding, but things were still distant. It was only after 5 years of marriage, when they broke up, that she admitted she had made that up, and he apologized. He killed himself. I often go and meet up with his little brother and we play with his toy cars. I think it takes my mind off it as much as his. Edit, I'm gonna turn off reply notifications, as I'm feeling a bit down and don't wanna be reminded of the thing. Thank you all for your support and have a wonderful day. Sending hugs to both of you. He slapped my girlfriend. I started using a wheelchair. I learned the hard way that most friends just can't deal with that. Almost all of my friends today never knew me as a walking person. You are better off with different friends. A drunk high on coke driver merged over too early and flipped her truck. She went through the windshield and was drugged as her truck flipped for almost a quarter mile. I cry sometimes about it, and the girl who killed her didn't even get vehicular homicide. Justice for Hallie. It was October 16th. 2015. I was working from home that day when I saw a call from him at around 9:15 am. I had to ignore the call because I was in an online meeting. At 2 PM my dad calls my phone, which is unusual since he knows I'm working. I answer it. He is speaking quietly and very calmly. He says, "Son, I love you very much. I have some terrible news. Jard passed away this morning." Jard's wife was calling me from his phone to say she found him dead. I couldn't process what he was saying. I said, "That's not funny, Jard. His wife and me and my wife were supposed to meet up next weekend for dinner." Jard had sleep apnea surgery that same week. He had taken a painkiller and Benadryl together. It stopped his heart. He died 2 days before his 40th birthday. We were friends since grade school. We did everything together. He was my brother. He was the best man at my wedding earlier that year. I had just shared my son's heartbeat with him via a text message 2 days before. Jard was so excited to be his crazy uncle. I miss him every single day. She got into heavy drugs and suddenly decided she doesn't like me anymore. She probably saved you from years of stress. Our parents got married for 3 years and then they divorced, and now I don't have a best friend. Codependency. I became basically obsessed with her and it just became too toxic. I had to cut it off because it was eating me up inside and she didn't deserve how I was treating her. I lost my best friend to meth last year. He is still alive, but he is gone from us now. Sudden brain aneurysm at 42. I noticed that he never came to my place to catch up. I stopped going over to his place to see how long until he noticed. It's been 5 years now. Over the years I have observed a number of friendships that it's always me that makes the call. They always are delighted to hear from me. If I organize something they come. They just don't make the effort. I have been best man 5 times, so I don't think that it's because the friendships are not valued. I don't know. Am I missing something? Hey, if you've been the best man for 5 different people then I doubt you've missed anything important. You're definitely appreciated by your friends. My ex-wife. Even after we split we stayed close. Co-parenting. Helping each other out. She died 3.5 years ago. I could have made peace I think, but after her death and our daughter was living with me full time I found out about how abusive my ex had been to her when I was around, and it felt like losing her all over. Like I thought I knew who she was in the 13 years we'd had both together and separated. But it turns out I knew nothing. Now I'm just angry about it. Like, how dare you get to do this shit and then leave me to clean up your mess? How dare you have peace when my daughter has nothing but struggles and therapy? I felt like we were robbed of the good person, the good mother I thought she was. She passed away aged 26. Cancer's a bitch. Edit, thanks everyone. My friend was the best person in the world. Was lucky to have her in my life, even if that time was cut short. Sorry to anyone else who's had to deal with the loss of someone to cancer. Here's hoping that one day there will be a cure. Also thanks for the silver. No idea what that actually means, but appreciate it nevertheless. He drank himself to death 2 years ago this Friday. He was 35. I still think about him every day. Depression. I pulled away from everyone because I didn't want to inflict myself on them. Eater, holy crap. I'm so sorry, so many of us are in the same boat. Here's to hoping there's a light at the end of this tunnel. Edit 2. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. I moved out of our apartment when I got tired of his boyfriend doing nothing but play League of Legends all day long. I was the one paying for the internet and transferred it to my new apartment and decided not to share the login information so they could use the crappy Xfinity open internet. And apparently that's all it took. From that moment on I was the enemy. I learned my lesson in just how little I was valued in that friendship. He stole from everyone. He took my money twice. Once straight up taking the whole ass wallet too. On another occasion he wanted to borrow my Gamma Boy Color and my extra copy of Pokemon Yellow. Important detail is the quotes around borrow. Methodica never brought it back. Probably never played it. Supposedly he did shit like this for drugs. But on other occasions he has stolen things just for the duck of it. So who knows? I was not the only victim. Well, I wouldn't say best friend particularly, but someone as close. So he borrowed a harmonica that was given to me by a family friend of my dad's before he left for India permanently, which by the way, side note, he came back a year later and then died immediately. So yeah, he borrowed it and then he gave it away to his friend who then never returned it. Yep, the stupidest way I lost something. 130 mg of methadone. Honestly, they just expected more out of me than I was capable of giving. Just blurred lines and unrealistic expectations. He stayed up all night putting finishing touches on a senior term paper in high school. The deadline for the paper was unforgiving, and at least one person missed the deadline every year. Paper was worth 50% of the term grade. He was a smart guy. Top 5 in a class of 500. Anyway, he didn't show up at school the next day. Around midday they announced his death due to a traffic accident on his way to school. I'm not sure he was my best friend, though he was a very good friend. But I'm pretty sure I was his best friend. Good guy. Lousy ending. RIPRC. As I was reading this, I thought I might know you until I reached the cause of death. I had a friend with the exact same situation, except he was the one person who missed the deadline. He and his parents got into an argument about it that night and he ran upstairs, locked himself in his dad's closet, and shot himself. All because of a paper. RIP. Jonathan. Just goes to show how much pressure schools put on kids. We've had about 3 suicides and the school hasn't even acknowledged them. Best friend roommate and I were watching Quantum Leap episodes So Help Me God when he suddenly jumped up and yelled "Oh duck." He promptly collapsed and hit the floor. I tried to catch him before he bounced off the coffee table, but ended up going down with him. Realized when doing CPR he was dead. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a birth defect. His heart exploded basically. He had strep for a couple weeks and was struggling with it. This ultimately is what caused his heart to give. When he left the apartment that morning to go to class, I remember thinking, geez, he looks horrible. He might die. Drank for a year solid after that. Edit, just realized it has been 16 years to the exact day. No wonder why I'm not sleeping. Stood my ground. I finally realized she'd been treating me like shit for years and I deserved better. This was back when we were 13 or so. She wanted me to drop stuff I like to do because it was too nerdy. Being involved with the scouts, reading, drawing, all not cool apparently. We went to different high schools and she was embarrassed of me with her new friends. I did not do that and I haven't seen her in years. We spent pretty much our whole childhood together. Best friend is gay. Known him for about 35 years. Marries a woman who is a total religious psycho. She even lied to him for years about her age before they married. Always tells him what to do and he's the type who can't say no. She finds gay porn on his phone and makes him delete all social media. Cut off ties to everyone he knows outside of family. Get STD tested. Confess to their preacher and his parents. Makes him get a new phone. and puts tracking software on it. I haven't seen or heard from him in nearly a year and have no idea how to contact him. He should have never kept secrets from her, but he should have never married her in the first place. I wish there was something I could do. I met him on Fortnite. Then we found out we only lived an hour away from each other's houses. He was my best friend for 2 years. Then sadly he died from a car accident involving a moose. In Ikea, they say that the Ikea meatballs are made of customers that got lost. No jokes. This guy was always naive as heck, and I accepted it. But one day he asked me to talk with him without phones on street. Warning. Dumbest part starts. He said that his grandma told him that he is Stalin grandson. Then he said he wants restart a revolution against Putin, and he wants me to participate in that. I refused, and he stopped being my friend. Sorry for my bad English. As you could understand, I'm from Russia. Peas about the phones part. He thought government can listen to us through them and get rid of him if they hear the revolution part. Suicide. I still miss him. The worst part is, he's always going to be 23. My memories of him are always going to stop when we were young. I'm going to get older and he'll stay the same age. It'd be one thing if we grew up and drifted apart, but now it's just nothingness. Not even the bitter, sweet smile one gets when they are reminded an old friend is still out there somewhere. I took her for granted. I figured that she would always be there. I wasn't taking care of myself, and I didn't see how that was impacting her. She left because of it. We were in love, but we were also each other's best friend. I wish I didn't lose her, but it's taught me so much about myself that I'm glad she did it. I'm doing really well now. I wish things could have been different, but I wouldn't have learned any other way. The hard road is shitty, but it can be the best way to grow as a person.